I know you were born in Brooklyn.
I was
That's where
born
my son lives. Yeah.
in Italy. Oh,
Yeah.
Brooklyn's amazing now. And even back then, I mean, I only lived there till I was 2, but we went back a lot because my
Right.
parents were there. And eventually we all moved to Long Island.
Right.
And I remember the block parties and my cousin Rose Catrano, who's like 90 something
Wow.
now. She still lives there.
Really? Does she still live in Merrick?
No, she's in Brooklyn. She's still
Okay.
in Brooklyn, and she does like the Catholic Italian feasts at her home, and has all those like old like lace tablecloths and statues and things.
Oh, wow. So probably you get back there quite a bit then.
Not a lot, not a lot.
Oh, Deb, how old is she? You better get your butt back there.
I know. Well, now listen, this year for travel's been.
So your first breakthrough song was Only in My Dreams.
Yeah,
Is
so
that
I was writing songs from the time I was like 5. If something happened in my life, I wrote about it. But starting when I was like 11 or 12, I got obsessed with writing. And I was writing songs that were like cute and fun, everybody sing that music. Everybody sing that song. They all sounded kind of like jingles.
right?
You would do in school choir because that was me writing from my limited experience.
Right.
And when I started getting really into the radio, I mean, I was always into pop. Like I was always into Billy Joel and Elton John. And sorry, all of a sudden there's like street cleaners going by, Murphy's Law.
All right. I can't hear him.
Day. But yeah, I started becoming obsessed with pop music on the radio. And I knew that I wanted to write something that could be on the radio. And it was one of the only times I ever deliberately set out to do that. Mm-hmm. And I had like a little 4-track recording studio set up in my house. That's a longer story, but the abridged version is that I was doing a lot of voiceovers and TV commercials and things. And anytime I'd go into a recording studio, I'd be like, I could produce if I knew the technology, because right. I knew I had the arrangements in my head. I knew I had the sound in my head. And I was a musician, so I could relay chords and notes, but I didn't know the technology. So my mom went, I like to say my mom, Diane, was like one of the original momagers. She went to an uncle of ours in Jersey to get a loan, to get me studio equipment.
Right.
So Joseph Pastuzzi, thank you. He lent my mom the money. She basically like danced on the tabletops and said, Deborah, and she loves to sing, and she does theater. And anyway, I got that little studio set up, and I had the drum machine, the Lynn drum machine, and I was making a beat, and it was that Only in My Dreams beat. And that opening line kind of dropped in, and for me, the melodies just like drop in. So that line, every time I'm telling secrets, just like dropped in, and I didn't even know what it meant. But right. I was like, that is an opening line of a hit pop song, and I knew it. And I just kept following the breadcrumb trail.
Right.
And the song kind of wrote itself in 10 minutes, and I demoed it in the garage that day.
Right.
With that said, about 100 songs later, Atlantic Records signed me to do just the one, because they were kind of like, this has to be a fluke. You're so young.
Right.
And so it's interesting because I now have a nephew who's 14, and he's doing like remixes and kind of EDM, like dance.
Right. Right.
And he's like I was. He's like, how can I get a record deal? I'm like, hold on.
Right.
Develop your catalog first. Develop your repertoire. Develop your skills.
Right.
And then that moment will come.
Right.
But all kids are impatient at 12. The 4 years from like 12 to 16 felt like an eternity.
Well, especially when he sees the success that his aunt has had, that just speeds him wanting to do it,
No, totally.
Yeah.
And these days, it's not all about a deal. These days, it's really about building your following online and all kinds of things. So I don't
know. Whole different scenario now. Yeah. So Atlantic gave you a developing deal, which was a development deal because of that song, right?
I just had another dance hit on the Billboard charts that went top 5 with my song Girls Night Out.
Which we'll talk about that later.
Yes, my roots are in. So Maybe it's because I'm from Brooklyn. Maybe like I have that like always have that grassroots underdog mentality. I don't know
Right.
why. But you know, the dance department at Atlantic was Larry Asgar, Bruce Carbone, and Anthony Sanfilippo. Those were my boys. And they had the office in the middle of the hall with no windows that nobody wanted. And
Wow.
they had stacks and stacks of records, and they were on those phones and they were hustling.
Right.
And I loved that. Even at 16,
Yes.
I always had that work ethic. I was like, what do you need me to do to make this happen? And my
Right.
mom would say, hey, what do you need us to do? And so I went and played clubs at 16. Nobody really knew my age
Right.
because they were not let me in.
Right.
And I saw every, kitchen and basement with the pipes dripping and the rats running around, and everyone from the, real kind of Italian mafiosa club owners to the 6'8" drag queen club owners. Gay clubs were always my
Right.
favorite. Right? And, I hit the road. I mean, it was just a wild experience.
But all through that, you still finished high school.
I did. I had it in me that I just had this conversation with a good friend of mine the other day. I always wanted to be normal.
Right.
But I wasn't normal. And most people aren't normal. It's like, what does that even mean? None of us
Right.
are cookie cutter, right? And now, obviously, homeschooling has become a necessity. But I believe there are some kids that are meant for homeschooling. There are some kids that are meant for school. There are some kids that are meant for college. There are some kids that are meant for college online.
Right.
There are kids that are not. I didn't go to college. I turned out all right. So, I just think everyone's path is really different. And the reason I say this is because, yes, I wanted to graduate with my class so that I would be able to say, look, I graduated with my class. I'm normal. And I
Right.
wanted that connection to normalcy.
Right.
But it really wasn't a normal experience. It was quite torturous, actually, because kids were really bullying me before bullying was a word. And you think that kids get bullied for being, kids get bullied for being different. And
Right.
I was very different, and my life outside of school was so different, and kids were very jealous. So it was actually a very, very tough time. But hopefully it just gave me a thicker skin, and it kept me in touch with like what to write songs about, because I
Right.
was immersed in some kind of, community experience with people my age.
Right. So with your recording of Only in My Dreams, you became the original pop princess.
Thank you. And of course there were New Kids on the Block, and there was also Shanice, and there was some other, the Jets, but there really were like a handful of us younger artists at the time. I joke now, it's like, sorry, you're a fetus, you're too old. Grooming them younger, but like we were kind of the pioneers for our generation of, starting so young.
Right. But then you also wrote, produced, and performed Foolish Beat, #1.
Yes. There have been many great men and women who have been great A&R people. Back then it was namely men, and it was just great music men, and the Clive Davises and the people who crafted a career and listened to every note of every song and said, change this or do that. I didn't have that because they kept thinking it was a fluke. They were like,
Right.
just do what you did. Like, do what you did last year. Do it again. And so with Foolish Beat, my mom heard the demo, and of course the Atlantic guys heard the demo, and they all wanted somebody else to produce it. And my mom's like, but if you listen to the demo, and I don't know how my mom knew this stuff, right? She always had this innate ability to support talent, right? And creativity. And so she was like, if you listen to the demo, guys, Deb has a clear vision for this song. So
Right.
just let her go into the studio and basically do the heightened, tighter version of what she did on this demo.
Right.
And she sat, man, with that room full of, I would have been petrified. I was petrified for her. She was like in her 30s and really went from like housewife to doctor's office manager to music manager. And suddenly she's talking to Ahmet Ertegun and pounding her fists on the table saying, I want my daughter to produce this record. So she she fought for that opportunity, and it happened. And then it went #1, and then it put me in the Guinness Book of World.
I know. I was just going to say, you still hold that record.
So I hold the record now for being the youngest female. I was the youngest period up until several years ago. Soldier Boy became the youngest male. I think he was 17 also. So he might have beat me by a couple of months, and my hat's off to him because it was a great record that he did. And again, he was doing what I was doing. He was like doing it in his room and speaking to his generation. So I love that. But I'm still the youngest girl. I say girl, I know I'm a woman, but I'm always going to be a girl. I'm the youngest female still. So it's wild. It's really wild. And man, it was a team effort between me and my mom.
Wow. Is she still, now, how long did she manage you?
Yeah, so she's not my manager anymore. She managed me for about 25 years. And my manager, Heather Moore, had actually worked for my mom and I when I was in my 20s for about 7 or 8 years. Then we went our separate ways. And then when I was looking to part ways with my mom in business, which was obviously a difficult thing, I was like, oh my God, who am I going to find? And then it came to mind that I should call Heather again. And she's unbelievable.
So she's been with you how long now, Heather?
About 8 years or 9 years.
Okay.
And, you know, I've been through health issues and all kinds of challenges, and she has stuck with me like family would stick with you. And you know, from your experience, that manager relationship, it is like family. It's such a personal relationship. And that person is like the den mother, the therapist, the business manager, everything, puts all the pieces together. People kind of go, what does the manager do? It's like, what don't they do?
Right. I have that same connection with it's like a sister from another mother, pretty much.
That's so great that you have that. And I think especially for females, because, you know, I have a lot of male artist friends who are a little more in control of they like that control.
Right.
I like the creative control, and I want bullet points of a deal, but I don't want to live in a business mindset. I want to live in a creative mindset.
Right. You don't want to book the appointments. You don't want to book the tour dates. You want to, I know.
No, approve everything, but I want somebody to free me up to be creative and to have that trust with Heather is incredible.
Right.
And my mom did such a great, you know, I think again, it was unprecedented times when I started. And again, to start as a teenage girl in a very male-dominated world, to have the mom I did, who number one was just crazy enough to let me do it, and to help me do it.
Right.
I mean, you know, I will make that movie someday. And I always say I want to tell the story from her point of view, more than from my point of view, because I think she has the more interesting story. You know, she was juggling 4 kids and a husband and a job, and then eventually segued out of that job, and I became her job, and all of those dynamics. I mean,
you know what? I just got goosebumps when you said that. It's like she's the wind beneath your wings.
1,000%.
Yeah.
I mean, I was how cool.
Well, we love you. And when Mark found out that I was interviewing you, he goes, I want to come on. I said, well,
I want to pop in at least and say hello.
That's so sweet. That is so sweet, Mark. So great to see you.
So good to see you too.
Thanks.
This is wonderful. I've got double Debbie today. This
double
is
Debbie's, exactly. And you know what, Debbie? My mom's name was also Diane.
Oh my God, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, my mom's name was also Diane. So, but I have different middle names. Are you a Deborah Ann?
Deborah Ann.
And I'm Deborah K. Yeah, we talked about that too.
Yeah, because there are 2 Anns and 2 Maries. Like when the middle name is the throwaway name.
What was your mom's middle name?
Josephine, after my grandma.
Okay, my mom was a Diane Marie.
Okay.
Yeah. So, well, I love you, honey, and we'll keep following you, and hopefully I'll see you down the line somewhere.
Love you too, and can't wait to play you on Sirius this week.
I know. What time does it come on Friday?
We all have to get together.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Yes. We'll have
fun. You guys.
All right, babe. Bye. Have a great day.
Bye.
So good to see you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Deb.